Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name's Jackie and this is Jackie is Making, a place where I talk all about the knit garments, accessories, and sometimes sewing projects that I have going on. And today I have for you a really fun podcast episode because I'm going to be featuring a couple of my latest whips that I've just been wrestling with over the past couple weeks, trying to get them finished. One in particular, really trying to get it finished for Thanksgiving, and I am so close. You're gonna be so proud of me. I also have to showcase for you a finished quilt, believe it or not. I haven't actually shared this with you. This was like a big surprise that I did with my big knitting group. We did it all together really fast in one weekend for another friend that's having a baby. So I'm so excited to show that to you. I've been waiting because it's kind of been a surprise, but we'll be gifting it to her after today's podcast episode. And I also have for you, there was a couple of whips that I was just like a little bit unsure of how they were looking. And so I ended up blocking, did a couple mid-project blocks on a few, and excited to talk with you all about that. But yeah, so that's kind of what's in store for today, all good things. Before we jump into today's episode though, I did want to thank the sponsor of today's video, which is FOREO. And they reached out to me to talk with you about one of their red light masks. If you're familiar with me and know, I live in Wisconsin and we get really dark, cold, dreary days. And so I've used red light therapy for years. I have a big red light panel that I like to use that just, I feel like brings me warmth and helps to give me like all the red light benefits during the winter season. And I just find it so beneficial. So when they reached out, I was so excited to give this a try. And I have had a very easy time making this a part of my routine. So what I like to do is just in the mornings, I keep it plugged in downstairs. And when I'm kind of making my coffee, I'll put it on. Sometimes I'll sit down, knit through a few stitches. And it's really nice because it has a built-in 15-minute timer. So I always know right when I'm pushing it, it's just going through that perfect amount of time just for me to get all of the benefits of the mask. The mask has multiple light modes. So it has red light for smoothing and collagen, blue light for breakout prone days, and then green light for brightening. And because it's Black Friday season, FOREO is giving us an amazing deal. So with the code Black Friday, you can get 30% off. And I truly believe this is the best time of year to try red light therapy if you've been interested. So if you'd like to pick one up for yourself or maybe for a loved one, definitely pick it up during their Black Friday sale this year. You can check out all the details and the link in the description box. And thank you again to FOREO for sponsoring today's video. Before I get into my whips, I did want to mention quickly what I am wearing. This is a garment that I finished just recently. This is a Harlow V-neck sweater, and I'm so warm. I actually put this on to film, and then I had to go downstairs, step outside on my deck and just sit for a minute, and it feels like I'm wearing a coat. This is a sweater that's knit out of one strand of 100% alpaca and one strand of mohair. And I really truly believe alpaca is so much warmer than wool. It has different qualities that make it not as appealing to me to work with as wool, but how warm this is makes me want to utilize maybe some wool alpaca blends in the future, just because it truly is so warm. And today I thought it would be kind of fun to just pair it over. I have a flannel on underneath. But yeah, this is a sweater that's it's a very oversized. I'm still figuring out ways that I like to style it. It features a 2x2 rib and a folded over V-neck collar. It also has a really nice kind of slip stitch look in the back because you're picking up stitches for the back drop shoulder but by making an I-cord first. So it's a really kind of interesting, engaging construction, but is also pretty simple. And I would say more advanced beginner friendly. So yeah, that is this sweater. I'm excited that it's cold enough to begin to wear it. All right, and now to jump into some of my projects. I thought first, since this is technically a finished object, that we should talk about this. So what I have here is a finished quilt. quilt. And I had this discussion with some of my knitting friends. So I have kind of a smaller knitting group, maybe like 14 people, where sometimes we'll get together and knit at coffee shops, bars, that sort of thing. We're also a part of our knitting guild and like to do retreats. And yeah, it's just been like a really nice group to be a part of. I think we've had this group maybe for a year, but one of our lovely friends within the group is expecting a baby. And so I was thinking about things that we could make for her. And like maybe it's kind of obvious. Obviously we're knitters, like we're gonna knit her something for her baby. And I was like, would there be anything that we could do that would be like a group project? And a couple of us are quilters, and I would say a handful are sewists. And so I had this idea, like, what if we all got together and made a baby quilt? And so we kind of planned this on the side, and we decided to go to our local fabric store and pick out all of the fabrics. And honestly, it was so chaotic because the first like initial plan was, hey, everybody go pick like bolts of fabric that you like, bring them over to a table, and we're all just gonna like, I don't know, like choose like our favorite ones, or we'll kind of decide that way. And along the way, maybe pick up patterns that you see, and maybe we'll find a best pattern. Oh my goodness, it was so chaotic. It was like just, none of us knew. There was no rhyme or reason, no plan, although we were trying. So we finally found a pattern we liked that we ended up going with. And then, once we brought all the fabrics over to the table, it was just like, okay, they're just not going together. And so finally I was like, let's just try to pick fabrics from one fabric line. And I totally recommend that for anybody who's interested in doing that, in doing this sort of thing, or honestly just like for quilt making in general, because it can be so fun to like mix and match from different collections, but it really is hard to match patterns and that sort of thing outside of fabric collections. So we selected, I think we really actually liked, there was this sort of creamy background with all of these colorful stars within it, and it just felt very like really cute for a baby sort of quilt. And then we were looking at the pattern and we were like, okay, well, the throws, what if we just did the throw size, because if we only did the baby size, then maybe she wouldn't, like their family wouldn't be able to use it for super long, and wouldn't it just be like a good gift, and it's not that much more expensive. And yeah, so we ended up making a throw size, which ended up being much more of an undertaking than a baby quilt. So sorry to any of the rest of the friends in our group who get one of these one day, because I do think it would have been much easier to do a baby than a throw size. It's just the size, the amount of blocks, the amount of effort. It definitely is like double as hard for a throw size. But so anyway, so we selected the throw size, and then I was able to take all the fabrics home and get everything cut and ready. And then I had everyone come over to my house one Saturday, and we had like different kind of stations set up. So we had all the sewing machines on a kitchen table. We had like a cutting station and a couple of different ironing stations. And I was really easily able to like group all of my blocks with my little alphabet clips from Frat Quarter Shop. It made it so easy. I love those things. And yeah, so it was just like such a fun Saturday. I think we started at 9 a.m. We took a little break to order some sandwiches. And then I think me and my friend Abigail are probably the strongest like quilters of the group. And I think we maybe finished around 3 p.m. I want to say. And so we had people like trickling in and out, but I feel like her and I were really grinding like towards the end to get the quilt top finished. And then we sent it off to one of our local long armors, and Abigail selected this really gorgeous, it's almost like a rosy sort of pattern here, and I thought it just looks so beautiful. Like whenever I have something more angular in a quilt, I love to select something that has more curves, because I feel like it just offsets the angles really nicely. And then, yeah, Abigail picked it up after it was finished. We asked the long armor, could you please have it done for the baby shower? And she really delivered so wonderfully. And yeah, Abigail brought it back to my house because she knows that I love binding quilts, and hand binding is just one of my most favorite things. Like, I really love hand sewing. It's so like therapeutic for me, you know, very, very similar to knitting, just getting to sit and like work with the fabric. I've described it before to you all that it just feels like me saying goodbye to the quilt, and yeah, just kind of like, you know, like just like cherishing it for what it is and finishing it out. So yeah, I just finished hand binding the quilt yesterday. And another special aspect to this as well is it has wool batting. So just like another really cute nod to our friend that it's from us as knitters. And as I was hand binding this, it's huge. It was covering my whole body on the couch. Like, that's another fun part about hand binding is you just get to like enjoy the quilt the whole time, and it's kind of draped over you while you're hand binding it. So yeah, I'm very excited, like just how big it is. I just kept picturing like not only her and her husband using it, but like her husband and her baby getting to use it. And yeah, if you're watching this, Sarah, I hope that this like blesses your family and that you guys can just like stay warm underneath it. And every time you look at it, you think of all of your knitting friends that just like care about you. We have your back, and we're just thankful to have you as a friend. And anybody who knows her knows she is one of the sweetest people I've ever met, and so is her husband, and they totally are more than deserving of a really, really wonderful gift like this. So yeah, so that is this quilt. I will feature some photos up on the screen. Yeah, just has some like really lovely fabrics. We ended up doing really like highlighting this sort of peach color throughout, because at the time her husband didn't know the gender of the baby yet. She did, but her husband didn't. And so we didn't want to give it away at the baby shower. Now, he accidentally found out, and so it wouldn't have been as big of a deal if we would have made this completely one gender or the other, but it is still really fun that it has, you know, both blues and pinks, and then like really has that like really beautiful peach color kind of shining throughout. And then all of the back features these really, really cute sort of woodland animals. And we did that because her theme for her nursery, she wasn't like super like, you know, all in on one theme, but she was like, I'm kind of leaning toward a more like woodland animal theme. So yeah, that is this quilt. Right after I filmed today's podcast episode, I'm headed off to go give this to her at her baby shower. So it's kind of a perfect time to finish it and talk about it. And as I am doing that, in her card, I will be writing some wash instructions, because since I just finished it yesterday, I didn't have time to wash it. And I didn't want to mention this for any of you who do gift or anything quilts. Usually you would wash it beforehand, similar to like blocking a knit. Quilts will get that like kind of crinkle, like it's that cute crinkle. It's just really that final step in a quilt, similar to blocking a knit, where you're just getting the fabrics all, just kind of meshing together with that batting, and it adds that really nice softness and crinkle of the quilt, it's called. And when I pre-wash it as well, I like to just add in a bunch of color catchers, just in case any fabrics were to, like, the dye would spread or anything like that. I like to wash this on a very gentle cycle with the color catchers and then let it air dry. And since I did not have time for that at all, what I'll do in the card is I will just include those instructions, and I'll also include some color catchers, and I'll also mention, you know, hey, like, the crinkle will happen, and just some like general guidance around that, because sometimes when you gift a quilt, if somebody washes it and they don't know what to do and it shows up a little bit different after they wash it than what you gifted as, they might think that they've ruined it, and they haven't at all. It's just, you know, you just have to know what you're in it for. Same with if you gift someone something, a superwash knit, and they put it in the wash and all of a sudden it stretches this big. Like, you just have to say, don't freak out. You didn't do anything wrong. It's okay. Like, you just have to tell them what to expect and what to do. So yeah, so I will be doing that. And yeah, I'm excited to see this quilt in years to come as well. The best part about quilts is they get softer every single time that you use them. My bird quilt that I made for the longest time was a little bit more rigid and it wasn't as comfy to like cuddle up on the couch with. And I just recently, during the summertime, I started like using it as a quilt on my bed. I was like, I'm just gonna start using this more. Now it is so soft. So that's just like a tip for any of you all as well. If you're dealing with a more stiff quilt or if you're like unhappy with yours right after you finish it, just know, keep using it, keep using it. It will soften up and start to feel like maybe some of your other favorite quilts in your house. So that is the quilt. Brought me tons of joy, if you can't tell, and I'm excited to hopefully do this again one day. And I hope that telling you about like this group project maybe inspired you to do a group project with your friends or your family for someone else as well. Okay, let's talk about a couple of my projects I blocked this week because I was a little unsure of how they were going. So I'm going to talk with you about that. And then I'm gonna end today on my Cognac cardigan because I'm so close to finishing it and I wanna show you that. So these two, let's see, these are a couple that were just kind of in troubleshooting mode. So not this past week, but the week before, I went to Kansas City with my husband and we just did like an early Thanksgiving with some family, and I got to visit a couple of really cool yarn stores there. And I also got to go to dinner with those twins who knit, which I'm sure many of you are familiar with. And that was so fun because I used to live in the Kansas City area. I got to go back to an old restaurant that I used to love with them, and we just got to talk a little bit about knitting and about creating in this space. And it was just so lovely to meet them, and I'm excited to continue our like relationship and getting to know them. But that was wonderful. And I also got to go to a couple of really fun yarn stores. There was one kind of downtown in the Kansas City area, and then one that I drove a little bit further out to go to that Rachel and Jessica recommended, and I'm so happy they did. It was an absolute wonderful store, and I bought sweater quantities at both. And so what I'm gonna do is I'm actually going to be releasing 2 videos this week. So you're gonna be seeing this one, and then I have another one coming on Friday. And Friday is gonna be kind of my winter making plans because yeah, I have 2 new sweater quantities. I'm already completely planning out what my winter is going to look like. And I felt like you guys might be excited about that too. Like right after you finish Thanksgiving, I feel like it's time to enter that like winter mode. And you know, a lot of people take off, and so I was thinking maybe another video on Friday will be great as well. So look forward to that. I'm dying to show you the yarn, but I think I just have so much to say about those plans and showcasing that yarn, so I'm gonna wait a little bit. But talking about Kansas City, the reason why I'm discussing it is because I brought these 3 projects. So I brought this Qanik for my husband. I also brought a Monday sweater, and then I brought the Cognac cardigan. And for this, I finished a sleeve on this Qanik for my husband. But while doing so, I actually got a comment on one of my videos that said, hey, like, maybe you should just have your husband try it on. Maybe you should block it because it's looking maybe a little bit small. And I thought so too. I was like, oh, you know, maybe it's never a bad idea, right? Especially if someone else is saying it. I would hate to just like completely ignore that comment and not at least think twice about what I'm doing. And I tried it on him and I was like, yeah, you know, let's just block it. Let's just see. And so I was planning on working on it more, but I decided, let's just take it home, let's block it. And I'm so happy I did because I actually think this is perfect. If anything, it might be a little bit long, but I think that it's a great size. And I had to remember too, when I was first thinking about it, I was thinking this was like the entire arm, but I have to remember I'm joining this all in the round kind of at that armpit area. And so, you know, because it's bottom up. And so I was kind of envisioning this top part going all the way up here, but that's not at all the case. This is really hitting at that bottom part, and I think is really nice. It's in a good spot. Looks great when I put it on him. So yeah, nothing much else to say about this. If you're unfamiliar, this is the Qanik by Linka Neumann. It's sort of an outerwear piece knit in the beautiful bulky Lopi yarn, Alafas Lopi, and man, it softens with the block. I think this feels so nice. I will talk your ear off all day about how much I love Lopi yarn, but yeah, I'm very, very excited about this. And blocking it and feeling it has just made me want to work on it even more. So I would call this kind of my priority once I finish my Cognac sweater this week. This is really my next priority. So that was exciting. And then I'm also working on a Monday sweater. And if you're unfamiliar with this one, I had gotten some yarn from for free. So our guild does a big kind of bag. You basically fill up a bag as tall as you want at the end of the year. And it's like $20 and it's all yarn that's been donated that people don't want anymore. It's just like a really fun experience. But I have had this sweater quantity of this gorgeous Alice Starmore yarn. And one of my commenters said the color looks really sapphire. And I was like, yes, I agree. It definitely feels sapphire to me. And these short rows in this pattern were a little bit unique. And another thing that happened with it was in the pattern, you're supposed to cast on the neck first, that collar, and then you go into the body and sort of all of these different raglans. And I was in my car ready to cast it on, and I was like, oh no, shoot, I only brought with the body needles. I didn't bring with the ribbing needles because I just assumed that I was gonna start with the body. And so I was like, you know what, I'm just gonna start with the body. I'll pick up stitches for the collar later. And that is what I ended up doing. So I completed all of the short rows, and then I did even a couple more rows after that. And then I decided to pick up everything for the collar, and it's a double folded collar. And yeah, just kind of finished knitting all of that portion as well. And I just felt like it wasn't laying totally how I wanted it to lay. The neck looked really wide, and I was a little bit concerned about it. And so I was like, you know what? I'm already blocking this other thing. Let me just throw this in there too. I quick put it on some try it on tubing, and I was like, you know what? Yeah, let's just do that. And I'm so happy I did, because I think it looks wonderful. It looks beautiful. It's exactly what I was hoping. The yarn feels great. It feels substantial. I'm loving the way that the gauge looks, and the collar I think it just looks great. If you look at the Monday sweater in general, the collar does sit just the tiniest bit wider than maybe a regular one. And so I think I'm just hit the nail on the head with this one. I think it's looking very, very good. And one other thing to note as well with this is I do have on one of those twice sheared sheep row counters. And the reason for doing that is because on a lot of raglans, you'll increase one row and then knit another row. And sometimes it's hard for me to remember. And so then when I'm getting to the row, I'm staring, I'm like, was that an increase? Was it not? And it stops my flow. And so what I'll do is I'll use a row counter, and I'll just remember on all of my odd numbers, I'm increasing. On all of my even numbers, I'm just knitting, or whatever I decide to do. And that helps me so much, because then I just look, okay, what number am I on? Oh yeah, no matter when I'm picking it up, I always know, and I just don't have to worry about it. So yeah, that is the Monday. Yeah, I think just gonna be a really nice way to kind of close out the month. Like I mentioned, I think I'm gonna obviously get going again on this Qanik and be working on this Monday sweater as I finish out November. I have some nice days off for Thanksgiving this week, and just hoping to enjoy some time knitting and working on those, and then probably starting my winter knitting plans right when I cast one of these off. So when one of these gets cast off, I'll get to start working on one of the ones that I'm gonna be talking with you about in my winter knitting plans. But So those are those two. And now, without further ado, let's talk about my Cognac Cardigan. And this has just been like so fun. I have been going working so hard on this one. So this is a cardigan that I am knitting, holding 2 strands together. I'm holding 1 strand of a cloud yarn. It's beautiful. It's like a Surrey alpaca with yak, with merino, with silk, and then I'm holding it together with a superwash, sort of hand-dyed cranberry color yarn. So I've been lovingly calling this my cranberry sweater because cranberry sauce is my favorite part of Thanksgiving, and I was like, oh my gosh, I need to wear this during Thanksgiving time. And so while I was on my trip in Kansas City, I finished the remaining body of the sweater, and I did just a 1x1 rib at the bottom and an Italian bind off. And just one note from me here, whenever I'm holding 2 strands, I usually will just cut off the fluffy yarn and just do the Italian bind off with the other yarn. So that's just a tip for me. You don't always have to hold both when you're doing your bind off. Then I picked up for both sleeves and completed both sleeves. I knit these exactly to pattern with the recommended amount of decreases. Exactly the recommended amount of length was perfect for me. 2 inches of 1x1 rib, again with an Italian bind off. So I was able to finish both sleeves. It was a nice, productive trip. I actually think I finished 1 whole sleeve on a 7-hour drive from Kansas City. So it was the perfect amount of time. I thought I was gonna like nap and do some other things, and I was just knitting that whole way. So beautiful. And yeah, I was a little bit worried about how the yarn would kind of stripe up. And what I mean by that is this yarn, like it's not perfectly, it's tonal, right? So sometimes you'll see some differences in the variegation of it. And so I was a little bit concerned how it would look in the sleeves, if it would kind of be a little bit more blotchy. And you can see in some places, maybe it is just ever so slightly a little bit more, but nothing that you would like, that your eye would notice, you know? So I'm very happy with how that worked up as well. And then once I finished that, I was able to start on the double knit button band. And wow, that was just like a complete learning experience. I don't get tripped up by knitting much anymore these days. I'm pretty confident in my skills and my abilities, but I was like, what is happening? It was one of those things where you have to watch, at least for me, I had to watch a couple of tutorials. I had to really slow it down. I was like, what? This doesn't make sense. And then once I did it, I understood it so much so that once I picked up for the second side of the button band, I didn't even have to watch the tutorials again. It just made so much sense to me. But it was funny how the first round, I was just like, what is happening? Like, this is so confusing. And it's just because, yeah, you're kind of doing a tubular cast on, and you're having to like work it on the wrong side, and you're trying to figure, I'm like, how am I also going to be using these stitches that I picked up? And anyways, if I'm speaking a different language to you, it's because that's just how it felt. It felt very confusing, but yeah, I'm very pleased. So I have one side of the button band finished, this side here, and I think it looks so good. I'm very pleased with it. And then this other side I have also been working on. So I picked up basically just one placket and then finished that. And now I picked up one whole other side and all the way around the collar. And right now I'm working on this side of the button band that has some buttonholes within it, evenly spaced out. And then once I get to the top of the collar, I'm just gonna switch to a 1x1 rib because it kind of has ribbing along the collar. I'm doing pretty well with this button band, cruising along. And once I get to that collar, I'm gonna need to look at my pattern again because I'm not really sure what happens there, but I do know I'll have another button within the collar band as well. So I just need to be mindful of what I'm working on here. But I'm excited about this. Where do I have it? I'm really excited about this because I got some really cool buttons. These are from the shop Pigeon Wishes that I've just seen like everywhere on social media. I've followed them for a while. This is, I believe, a UK-based brand, and I picked out these buttons. I actually believe I showed them to you all on the screen, maybe last podcast episode or the one before, and said I was thinking about them, and I was a little bit nervous about the color because yeah, this cranberry color, it's just like a little bit unique, and sometimes colors don't always reflect on screen, and so I wasn't sure if I was going to get what I was exactly looking for, and I'm so happy to say I did. It's such a good match, and it's just gonna be like the icing on the top of the cake. Like, it's gonna be such a nice pairing. I think I'm really excited to see it. It almost has like a little bit of like a pearly glow to it with like a cranberry base. So it's very, very nice, and I'm excited about that. But yeah, so I just really have this button band left that I'm guessing I'm either gonna finish today or tomorrow, and today is Saturday and Thanksgiving's not till next Thursday. So I'm excited that I'm gonna have enough time to finish it, hand sew on some of these buttons, and then we'll get a final block. I guess that is one portion I did not mention. I did, after I finished everything besides the button band, I did a block just to make sure everything's laying all flat and evenly before I did the button bands, and that went very well. The water bled just a tiny bit, just with this really deep, gorgeous red color, and didn't stretch too much. I think it was just like, it looked like it's gonna fit me great. And I kept holding it up to, I have another red store-bought cardigan that I really love to wear actually, and it is a little bit more of a fitted cardigan, similar to like what I'm guessing this one is gonna be, maybe like 1 to 2 inches of positive ease. And so I was holding or putting this one kind of behind it and checking measurements that way, which is, it's always really nice to have something to look at next to that. And the dimensions are very, very similar. So that is good with that. So yeah, I think that's everything that I have to discuss with all of you today. Like I mentioned, there's going to be another video this week, me talking all about just, yeah, some fun new acquisitions that I got, discussing some winter making plans, and yeah, just telling you all of the things that I'm excited to be making this winter. Thank you again to FOREO for sponsoring today's video, and I hope that you all are staying warm, that you're enjoying the start of the holiday season, and that you are making time for yourself. I'll see you guys all in the next video. Have a great rest of your week and a happy Thanksgiving. Bye-bye.